So today's lesson is going to help you when we get to graphing. Because what we're going to do today is pretty much the first step you have to do when you're graphing. Okay? So we're going to get hopefully fluent with this process so that way when you're graphing it's a little bit easier. Okay? Now, yesterday's notes were for the most part, or the day before, whenever we took them, was going back and forth between log and exponential form, and the whole goal for the most part was getting the exponent, right? Your answer to these, you were trying to figure out what the exponent would have to be, correct? These ones are a little bit different. Our goal is to get x by itself. Wherever x is, our goal is to get it by itself. Now that's kind of strange because usually when we've gotten things by themselves before, at least when there's an x and a y, usually we've gotten y by itself. But now we're getting x by itself. So there's 3 steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1 is get the log alone. Step 2, change to exponential form. And then step 3 is to get x by itself if it's not by itself already. So looking at these first 2 examples, those 2 examples are almost identical. What's different about them? There's parentheses. So what does that change? It changes what's going on with the 3. In this problem, my log is that right there. In this problem, because of those parentheses, this whole thing is the log. So when it comes to step 1 of getting the log by itself, over here, the log is already by itself. Over here, it's not. So how do I get the log by itself here? Somebody say add 3.
Add 3.
Thank you. So I would add 3. That's going to get me log base 8 of x equals y plus 3. I can't really add those, can I? So y plus 3. Is the log by itself now? Yes, there's nothing over here that's not a part of the log, right? So let's move on to step 2. What is step 2? Change to exponential form. So what's the base going to be? What's the exponent going to be? It's going to be this whole thing right there. Y plus 3 equals what? And step 3 is get x alone. In this case, x is already alone, so I'm done. Not too bad, right? Tomorrow we'll take it further, but right now we just want to get x by itself. By the way, this is not on tomorrow's quiz. Okay? Because tomorrow's quiz is no calculator, you know, all that kind of stuff. Tomorrow's quiz is just over the first page of notes, not this stuff. Okay? All right, let's see how it looks different when that 3 was a part of the parentheses. My log is already by itself, so what's the next step once the log is alone? Change to exponential form. What's the base? What's the exponent? Equals? Is x by itself? So what do I need to do? Now, when I add 3, does that 3 go up into the exponent or not? No, only this is the exponent. So I have 8 to the y plus 3 equals x. How do the answers look different? Where the 3 is, if it's part of the exponent or not, right? Thinking back, you guys remember these 2 favorite letters of ours, H and K? Depending on whether that 3 gets moved before or after you change to exponential form, changes whether it's an H or a K. And we'll see how that plays out tomorrow. But make sure, it's going to get really particular. I had someone yesterday that kept writing their exponents full size like they were regular numbers. It's going to get really picky. If you write that 3 big, I'm not going to know if you understand the difference between this and this. So make sure, you know, if you have to write your base bigger in order for your exponent to actually look small like an exponent, then write your base bigger. Okay? Because it does change the meaning. All right, moving on. I don't see the word log. Shoot, where is it? Remember what your brain needs to interpret this as? It needs to, not e, but log base e. So this isn't the same thing as e, it's the same thing as this of whatever it is. Okay? So my log is right here. So how do I get it alone? What do I do? Add 8. Let's move that 8. So ln, so even though it's not spelled log, it still follows all the log rules because it really still is a log. So natural log of x plus 2 equals y plus 8. Now, come homework time, there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be like, what do I do with that? There's no base. What do I do? I'm going to refer back to, remember this bottom corner of the notes from yesterday? Or the day before, whenever it was. You're going to have common logs and you're going to have natural logs. So you refer back here to see what the base is. What is the base in my natural log? E. So when I go to exponential form now, I have e to the what power? Y plus 8 equals x plus 2. Is x by itself? So I'm going to subtract 2. So I have e to the y plus 8 minus 2 equals x. X is by itself, so I am done. So? All right, you try the next one. All right, sounds like you're done. So, my logarithm is right here, so what's the first thing I need to do? Subtract 7 to move it to the other side, right? That gives me log base 2 of x minus 1. Now, it is important you keep that in parentheses, right? Because if you don't have parentheses, it looks like you have to move a 1 over too. Equals y minus 7. Is the log by itself? Yep. So what do I do now? Go to exponential form. What's my base? What's my exponent? That whole thing right there. Y minus 7 equals x minus 1. Is x by itself?
No.
Add 1. So I get 2 to the y minus 7 plus 1 equals x. Questions there? Okay. Last one is slightly different. I think you have one on your homework that kind of deals with this a little bit. Whenever you have a number in the front, oftentimes you're going to have a really ugly answer. Ugly in the sense that it's just going to look weird. Okay? It's not any more difficult than we do the other ones. I just need to clarify that my log that I need to get by itself is right there. Notice what I did not include in the box. The 3. So I'm going to have to move not only the 3, but also the negative 1 before I go to exponential form. Which one do I move first? Let's move the 1. So I have 3 log base 5 of x equals y plus 1. Now I got to get rid of that 3. How do you get rid of that 3? You divide by 3. Now, if those numbers divided by 3 nicely, I would divide each one individually by 3, right? Like if I had a 6 and a 12, I could divide those each by 3 and get nice numbers. Neither of these divide nicely. So, I'm going to come up here. I'm left with log base 5 of x equals y plus 1 over 3. So my log is by itself. What's the next step? Go to exponential form. What's my base? Exponent is that whole ugly thing right there. Y plus 1 over 3. You may need to write your base bigger in order for that whole thing to look like an exponent, right? Equals x. Thank goodness x is by itself because I don't want to have to do anything more with that ugliness. Okay? So? All right, let me talk to you about your homework really quick. Your homework, the first couple questions right here are just rewriting. Still more practice with rewriting. 2 of them going from exponential form to log. 2 of them going from log to exponential. Notice that neither of these logs have bases, which means that both of them fit into one of these 2 categories. So refer back to those notes. Then we have several problems here that are just like the ones we just did. Get x by itself. Okay? Number 14. Feel free to skip number 14. Okay? Another teacher prefers that problem. I personally don't, so go ahead and skip number 14. Then on the back, we decided to get even more evil and put some word problems in there. Now, I want to clarify. These word problems are basic word problems. In each one of these word problems, you are given an equation, and literally all you have to do is find the appropriate information to plug in here and then go straight to your calculator. Okay? There's no fancy tricks or anything like this one. 93 log D plus 65. We'll read the rest, figure out what D is, and then just go to your calculator from there. Okay? They should be fairly simple if you read through the problems. Okay? All right. Happy studying.